Hello everyone, welcome back to the questions based on jurisprudence. Today's first question. How did Savigny view the role of custom in law? Savigny saw custom as fundamental to the development of legal principles. How does law promote social norms? Law promotes social norm by codifying moral beliefs and regulating behaviors such as honesty and fairness. In what way is law a moral enforcer? Law punishes immoral actions like murder and exploitation. According to Immanuel Kant, what makes a law valid? A law is valid if it is universalizable and respects individual autonomy and human dignity. What is the categorical imperative in Kantian philosophy? It is the principle that individuals must treat others as ends in themselves, not merely as means. How does John Rawls' theory of justice limit legislative authority? John Rawls argued that laws must be just, impartial, and benefit the least advantaged members of society. What is the veil of ignorance in John Rawls' theory? Veil of ignorance is a hypothetical condition where lawmakers design laws without knowing their own social status, ensuring fairness. What is a key contribution of Fuller's and Finney's work to legal theory? Fuller and Finney reassert the connection between law and morality. What is the main takeaway from the revival of natural law? That the law must be rooted in morality and human dignity to ensure justice in society. What is the relationship between public morality and the legal boundaries? Law defines what is morally acceptable within society. How does the legal system restore moral order? By compensating victims, punishing wrongdoers, and ensuring justice. Are all moral issues covered by law? No, some moral beliefs remain matters of personal conscience. How do legal reforms reflect shifting morals? Laws evolve to align with changes in ethical and social values. Why is the role of law in morality debated? Some argue it enforces majority morality at the expense of minority rights. What is a normative system? A system of rules that regulate behavior and ensure cooperation within a community. What is the purpose of normative systems in games? To govern gameplay, ensure fair competition, and enforce penalties for rule violations. Give an example of a normative system in a game. Rules of football, chess, or card games. What is the role of regulatory law? To oversee industries, economic activities, and public health. How does law act as a deterrent? By imposing punishments that discourage illegal behavior. What are examples of criminal sanctions? Imprisonment, fines, and a community service. What does Marxist feminism argue about women's oppression? It links women's oppression to capitalism and argues that true liberation requires an egalitarian economic system. What does the basic structure doctrine state? Certain core principles of the Constitution cannot be altered by legislative or constitutional amendments. Which case established the basic structure doctrine in India? The Keshavananda Bharati case, 1973. What are some core principles identified under the basic structure doctrine? Democracy, secularism, federalism, separation of powers. What was the significance of the I.R. Coelho case regarding the basic structure doctrine? It reaffirmed that laws violating the basic structure of the Constitution are invalid. What does it mean that laws are general and impersonal? Laws apply to all individuals equally and regulate behavior, not specific persons. Why are modern laws codified and written? To make them accessible and known to the public. How do common law systems differ in terms of written laws? Some laws are unwritten and based on judicial decisions, but statutes and precedents provide records. What is Maine's status to contract thesis? Societies evolve from status-based or fixed hierarchy to contract-based or individual freedom legal systems. How does Maine link legal evolution to social progress? Maine argues that as societies develop, laws shift from family-based authority to formalized contracts. What was Maine's influence on colonial legal systems? Maine's ideas helped shape legal systems that adapted to local customs instead of imposing foreign laws. How do Savigny and Maine ideas differ? Savigny focused on the historical evolution of law through national customs, while Maine emphasized the transition from status-based to contract-based legal systems. How is law connected to ethics and morality? Laws reflect our society's ethical and moral values, such as prohibiting murder and theft. How does postmodern feminism approach gender and law? Postmodern feminism challenges fixed gender identities and deconstructs traditional legal categories that enforce gender norms. What is the difference between natural law and legal positivism? Natural law sees law as based on moral truths, while legal positivism views law as separate from morality. How does moral pluralism affect law? Moral pluralism creates challenges in balancing conflicting moral views in diverse societies. How does law promote a conformity? By teaching individuals acceptable behavior and creating a culture of compliance. What did Roscoe believe about the law? Roscoe believed that law should serve social welfare by addressing the needs of society and resolving conflicts fairly. Why is sociological jurisprudence relevant in India? India has a diverse society with various cultures, religions, and social stratifications, making sociological jurisprudence essential to address complex legal issues. What is legal pluralism in India? Legal pluralism refers to the coexistence of multiple legal systems, including customary laws, religious laws, and state laws. How does sociological jurisprudence help in legal pluralism? Sociological jurisprudence provides a framework to understand how different legal systems interact and affect individuals in various communities. How does law regulate social behavior? Law creates predictable rules that help individuals and organizations function effectively. How does natural law differ from positive law in limiting legislative authority? Natural law imposes moral constraints on legislation, while positive law focuses on legal procedures and a sovereign authority. What role does the judiciary play in limiting legislative authority in India? The judiciary ensures that laws comply with the constitutional principles and fundamental rights. Why is law important for conflict resolution? Law prevents disputes from escalating into violence or chaos. How does law protect rights and property? By ensuring security in social and economic activities. What role does law play in facilitating economic activity? It provides legal frameworks for contracts, trade, and business regulations. What does the realist school emphasize about law? The realist school focuses on the practical application of law and judicial behavior rather than abstract legal principles. How do legal realists view the role of judges? They believe judges exercise discretion influenced by social, economic, and personal factors. What is the difference between law in action and a law in the books according to American realism? Law in books refers to written statutes, while law in action is how law is applied in real life.